Good morning and happy Tuesday. Take a comfortable seat, sitting up on enough height that you feel supported, relaxed. And this week we're working with a mudra called a Chitta Mudra, where you bring your index and thumb tip together. Bring the base outer edge of your thumbs together and then touch the pinky, the ring finger, and the middle finger together. And this is Chitta Mudra. Bring your hands down in front of your torso wherever they're comfortable. Feel free to close your eyes if you like. Chitta is the consciousness that enlivens all of life. It's not separate from us. And oftentimes when we have a lot of mental chatter or activity of the mind, it can distract us from the present moment. And so our practice is just to notice when we're pulled away, when we might be disconnecting from our home ground of being. Simply feeling the flow of your breath here, the surface on which you're sitting, the conscious flow of life that's arising in every moment. It's very natural for your attention to be pulled in other places and directions. And the practice is just bringing your attention back to this light of consciousness that is ever present. And so just bring your hands together into Anjali Mudra for a moment to honor this practice and flow of life as you bow your head. And then release your hands, open your eyes. So today's practice is going to be all about using one block. So we're going to start lying on your back and you can have other props handy if you would like a blanket or a strap, but if you have one block, that's going to be our main focus. Okay, so come on over to your mat if you're not there already, and just lying down on your back, have your block handy. And again, you can put a small thin folded blanket under your head if you like, or not. Just depends on how your body meets the floor. And bring your feet to the floor, your knees bent. And then take your block and hold the block between your palms at the widest width. Bring your arms up towards the sky. And as you settle here, sensing the connection between the block in your hands down through your arms into your upper arms and where the arms meet in the shoulder sockets. And then even sensing your shoulder blades behind you and how they meet the floor. And you might sense that one shoulder blade feels a little heavier or lighter, just whatever it is you're noticing. And from this place, start to drift the block back towards the wall behind you. And then bring the arms back up towards the sky. And the whole while here, just perhaps tuning in your attention to your shoulder blades, to your arms. You might feel as your arms get further overhead that your shoulder blades change their position or shape on the floor. And just moving in a range that feels comfortable. and easeful for yourself. Let's do 2 more of these. Nice and easy. And then once you bring the block back in line with the chest, now tuning into your shoulder blades again, we're going to lift the shoulder blades away from the floor and then let them settle back down. So the block will be rising up towards the sky, and that's happening because your shoulder blades are lifting away from the floor. So just doing a few more of these. We're maintaining the same bend in your elbow from start to finish through this movement. So really moving in a range where your shoulder blades are the moving pieces here. And then after your next one, bring your arms down, take the block aside. And then we're going to place the block between the upper inner thighs here, close to the pelvis. Bring your arms to the floor on either side of you. And feet are hip distance apart. And from here, we're going to slowly lift up into a little bridge and coordinating the arms floating up and towards the floor behind you or the wall behind you. And then bringing the arms back up as your hips lower back to the floor. Wait for your next inhale as you lift up. So we'll coordinate the breath with the movement of the body. So the inhale raises the hips and the arms, and the exhale brings everything back to the floor. And really pause for that full end of the exhale before you start your next lift, so that you're not rushing in your breath or your movement, keeping this mindful and steady. Let's do just 2 more here. So lifting the hips and torso and arms floating overhead, and then on the exhale, your arms are coming back down with your pelvis. So I'm going to do 1 more. And then bringing yourself back to the earth. Take your block out and roll to one side. We're going to come to a hands and knees position now. So you can put some blanket under your knees if you're needing that extra cushion. And with the block now, we're going to take the block just under the left hand, which will be positioned under the left shoulder. And the right hand will be on the floor. So you'll be in this little asymmetrical position here. Knees are under the hips, and just relaxing into your breath. And on your next exhale, press your left hand down into the block and float your right hand up till they're about level with each other. And then lower the right hand back down. And then press into the block and float the right hand up. And then lower the right hand down. And as you're doing this, we'll do a few more repetitions. Notice what you might sense in your abdomen, in your torso, or maybe in your shoulders. If you're feeling tension arise around the jaw, the neck, or the upper shoulders, the trapezius, then try to press a little less. Don't have to bring the right hand to hover as high. All right, so after your next one, bring your hands back down and slide the block over to the right under your right hand. Left palm will be on the ground. And then again, take a breath in, and on your exhale, press into the block, floating the hands so they're fairly level with each other. And then the hand comes back down, and we'll do a few more of those. So you're pressing into the block to float the left hand up, and then really going slowly, bringing the left hand back to the floor. This is working through the shoulders and a little bit into your core. But again, be mindful of any tension arising around the top of the shoulders, neck, or jaw. Okay, after your last one now, we're going to take the block, put your left hand on the block, but keep the block towards the right, and come into a puppy or child's pose here. Your left hand on the block, right hand on the floor, and you're going to side bend shifting yourself to the right as your pelvis draws back to the left. Keeping the left hand on the block. Now, what I like to play with here is pressing the left hand down into the block a little and isometrically drawing it back toward my shoulder, but the hand does not move in space. And then we'll do the other side. So take the block over to the left, bring your right hand on top of the block, left hand on the floor, and then draw your hips back a little at a diagonal to the right. And then press down with the right palm, drawing isometrically the hand back toward the right shoulder. Enjoy your breath. And then make your way back into the center. Now we're going to take your block and place it between the upper inner thighs again. And have your hands on the ground, shoulder width, and tuck the toes. Now from this position, we're either going to flow from puppy pose on your knees into half plank on your knees, or from downward dog into plank. All right, so I'm going to show this position with knees down today. So just start with, we'll all come to our knees and then shift back, and you're just feeling the sense of the block between your thighs. So we're all in puppy pose to start. And then come forward into half plank with knees on the floor. And then come back into table. So let's choose whether you want to stay with that flow or we'll do downward dog to plank. So if you're coming into dog now, you'll raise your knees off the floor and press back into down dog, or you can stay with me with knees on the floor. And then from this position, we'll come forward into plank. So your knees are either down or legs are straight. And then back into puppy pose or downward dog. And then forward into plank, and just feel how the block supports you here. And then back into puppy pose or down dog. And forward into plank pose. And then as you go back, we'll pause here and then take the block away if you need to come down onto your knees to do that. And we're going to come to a standing forward bend. So however you like to get there. Sometimes it can be a little tricky to walk forward from down dog, so feel free to just navigate your way there. And when you arrive at the top of the mat, placing the block back between your upper inner thighs and come into a standing forward bend. Now you can have your other block, if you have a second block, under your hands for some extra support here. Feeling from your midline, so from the inner legs up through the core of the pelvis, through the spine to the top of the head. And from your pelvis, reach down into the earth a little through your feet here. And then bend the knees. Inhale, come all the way up, keeping the block right where it is. Take your arms out to the side and inhale the arms up. And exhale. Hands to the heart, and then float the arms back around behind you. Interlace your fingers. Opening the chest. One more breath here. And release the arms. Interlace the fingers out in front. Press the palms away, broadening through the back of the body. And release the arms. And then take your block out. Now we're going to keep the block between your palms here, the widest width. Bring the block in towards your heart and sit back into a little chair, hinging back through the hips. Step your right foot back into a lunging warrior, landing on the ball of the foot. And then shift forward and back a little till you can center your weight between your front and back foot. So you just feel balanced there. And then take your block and bring it behind. Whoop, a little balance challenge this morning. Bring it behind your head. So you're holding the blocks. Now my elbows are wider than shoulder width. That's fine. Staying in your high lunge here. Just simply pause. Feeling the block here. This can be helpful for creating some space in the back of the neck. And then from the pelvis, start to lengthen up and lift the chest a little, curling into a small back bend here, pressing your head back gently into the block. Being mindful to keep the spine long as you're coming into this little back bend. Great. And then rise back up to center. Take your block out in front of you, keeping the palms on the block, and just reach a little from your shoulder blades through the hands. And then draw the block back into the heart, step the back foot forward. Come into a little chair, sitting back, hinging at your hips. Left leg goes back into lunging warrior. And then again, just find that place centered between your front and back foot. With the block between your hands, bring the block behind your head again. Elbows can be as wide as feels comfortable. And settling in to your breath. And then imagine you could grow roots through your legs and feet as you rise up out of the pelvis, lengthening the spine, curling back a little, creating a little back bend, pressing your head gently into the block. So it's a very subtle movement. Does not have to be a huge curvy back bend here. Lengthening through the front body, and then returning upright. Take your arms and bring them out in front of you and reach from your shoulder blades to the block in the hands. Breathe there. Great. And then gather the block in and step the back foot forward. Turn to the side, taking a wider stance, maybe legs shoulder width apart. And I like to turn my feet out a little bit for this. And we're going to do a little movement, a little bit more dynamic movement to get the prana, the life energy flowing through the body, particularly in the morning. This is great. So you hold the block here, say in your left hand, and then you sit back into a squat and pass the block between your thighs and catch it with your other hand behind your leg. Then you bring that hand around, catch it between the legs and bring it around. So this is a figure 8 position. And now, once you've got that coordination going on, you can start to do a little lunging to the side. So a lot of times in the morning, our routine may be where we get up, we make our coffee or tea, and we sit, and we catch up on the events, the current events, or whatever it is we might do. And we don't get a lot of movement right away. So that's what's so lovely about early morning yoga practice, is that it starts to help revitalize our bodies, get the blood flowing, and we just feel that energy then throughout the day. All right, so then I'm just going to finish off here and then come all the way back up. Now keep the legs rotated externally a little and the feet are following. Bring your block right into the heart space here and sit into goddess. So the legs are coming up towards the torso as you're sitting here. So we're not tilting out. Okay, so just sitting into the legs. Now with your hands on the sides of the block, your elbows can be a little out to the side. Just press your hands into the block. This can help to create a connection between your shoulders, your core, and your hips. And let's just take 3 more breaths. Feel the strength of your legs, the ease through your breath. And then slowly stand all the way up, turn the legs straight ahead, step the feet back towards one another, and face the front of the mat. Now just take your block and bring it behind your back in line with your tailbone somewhere there, holding the block again with the palms on the sides. Bring your fingers together so you're not gripping the block, the edges, so the fingers are straight, and this can often create a little bit more work or challenge up into the shoulders. Now the shoulders are not rounding forward, and you're just creating this isometric contraction here, gently hugging the hands into the block. And now just 1 inch, slide the block down the tailbone, just 1 inch there. Now drop your chin slightly and tune into the tips of your ears. And as you're tuning in there, draw the tips of the ears diagonally back towards the sky and keeping that now. So right at the base of the skull is drawing diagonally back towards the ceiling behind you there. And then slowly lifting the head, gazing straight ahead, return the block to the front. And let's come down now. We're coming down toward the floor. So bring your block to the floor, bring your hands to the heart. And exhale, release the arms. Inhale, stretch up, and exhale, bow forward, hinge from your hips. We'll take the right foot back into a low lunge. You can put some support under your right knee as needed. Coming into a low lunge, you'll just have the one block inside your left ankle here. And then take your left hand to your hip and twist to the left. So you're pressing your right hand down into the block, turning through the chest. Pause, enjoy your breath. Feel the connection from the right shoulder all the way to the right hand. Nice. And then return back around to center. And you can do a simple switch between sides, or if you want to do down dog in between sides, that's fine. We're going to bring the right foot forward into a low lunge now and bring one block to the inside of the front foot. I like the tallest variation, but you can do any height you want with the block. Bring your left hand to the block, right hand to the hip, and pushing into the block gently and turning. Now, this pressing into the block, you don't need to use that to leverage the twist or make it deeper, but just to invite that connection from your left shoulder blade to your left hand. Okay, and pause and breathe. And then return to center and coming back to table position with the block between your thighs again. And then we'll do just one more set of plank to down dog or knees down plank to puppy pose. So we'll all start here from this table, either puppy pose, shifting the hips back, or down dog, raising the knees. And then come forward into plank and back into puppy or dog. And forward into plank. And back into puppy or dog. And one more time. Plank pose. Feel the connection through the midline of the legs. And back into downward facing dog. Now, this next time, we're just going to come through a plank, bend the elbows, and lie down on your stomach. Now, you have this block here, which can feel kind of funny between your thighs in this position, but let's point the feet and bring the tops of the feet to the floor. Then take your arms out to the side. They can be lower than shoulder height is fine. Palms face the floor. Now we're going to keep the legs down. What I'd like you to do here is just to get a sense of your bum muscles. Go ahead and just actively squeeze your butt. And so that's one way that we might be squeezing the block. But ideally here, for this position, we want to be just hugging the legs against the block. The bum will firm sort of responsively, reflexively, as you hug the block with your leg bones. So you don't need to grip or over squeeze your bum here is the point. Now keep the back of the neck long. We're going to keep the legs on the floor and float the chest and the arms into superwoman, superman, superhuman pose. And then lower back down. We'll do that one more time. So you're just creating nice strength to the back body here. Pause and hold. And then lower yourself back down. Place your hands under your shoulders, and we're going to just flip over onto your back now. Bring your feet back to the floor again. And now we're going to take your block and place it under your pelvis for supported bridge. When you place your block here, you want to make sure that your block is more under the back of the pelvis, not on the lumbar spine so much. And now you might want to use a strap here. What we're going to do is bring the right knee in and either clasp around the back of the right thigh to straighten the right leg, or if you'd rather, if you prefer, you can take a strap behind your right thigh and bring your elbows to the floor, which is just a little, maybe it's a little bit more work for the hands and fingers, but it can allow your shoulders to relax. So you choose whether you want to interlace your fingers behind your right thigh or use the strap. And then once you have your right leg up, we'll slide the left leg out on the floor. And just relax into your breath for a few moments. So we were doing quite an active practice, and now we've come more into a still place. So just letting your body settle. Feel your breath moving through the torso. Okay, and then slide your left foot in, and we'll bring the right foot down, switch sides, clasp around the back of the left thigh with your hands, or take your strap around the back of the thigh and bring your left leg up. And then slide the right leg long out on the floor. Heel can stay on the floor if you can. I'm just using this opportunity to come into your body, your breath. The thing with our asana practice, our yoga practice, the physical postures, is we can just see how many positions we take in this half hour, and it just highlights how life is ever changing, right? We could choose to stay in a still position for half an hour as well, but we chose to move. And so life is ever flowing, and our practice is to allow that flow to continue as we stay in tune, observe with compassion and non-judgmental approach to life. And then bring your right foot in, bring your left foot back to the floor, raise your hips up, take the block aside. Then if you have two blocks, you can take the soles of the feet together and take your blocks on the outsides of the knees or the thighs into Supta Baddha Konasana, reclined bound angle. Feel free to cover yourself with a blanket or have a blanket under your head. If you only have one block, you can just stretch your legs out along the floor. Okay. And then coming into this stillness position, place one hand on your navel area and one hand on your lower ribs. Feel free to close your eyes and just tune into your breathing here. There's nothing you have to manage with your breath. It can just be the witnessing presence of the breath here. Softening your skin. Feel the support of the earth. And feeling free now to stay here as long as you desire, as you have time for. Connecting with your body and your breath. May you be well. May you live with ease. Enjoying the rest of your day. And thank you for practicing with me.